right. Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for coming today. So we had scheduled a board review meeting for this afternoon, but due to some unforeseen events, we didn't have a quorum for that meeting. So I apologize for that and appreciate your flexibility. But I thought since we had the time already carved out those calendars, we thought we'd just move forward and do what we could to answer some questions and maybe just present a little bit more about the proposed building code. So with that, my name is Ron Flax. I'm the Deputy Director for Community Planning and Permitting, as well as the Chief Building Official for Boulder County. I thought I would just talk a little bit about Build Smart specifically, because that's a section of the code that is we've made more local amendments to that part of the code than others, and I thought it was worth just presenting it, which might help clarify the overall structure a little bit. And then after that, we'll just open it up for questions and discussions, and then finally talk about next steps. So this is sort of the Boulder County Building Code for a number of years now has used the HERS rating or the ERI pathway as the primary method of regulating new home construction, and that's continuing today. What we're proposed is pushing the ERI pathway, and I'll use the ERI pathway and the HERS pathway interchangeably. We've actually made some suggestions, some modifications to the text of the code that will keep those two programs aligned. So this right now, there's historically been a little bit of a discrepancy between the ERI score and a HERS score due to the way that ASHRAE and ResNet have regulated their guidance. But we've sort of forced those two things to align. So we'll use those terms interchangeably. In this version of the code, the proposal in front of us now, we have said that all new homes will need to use the ERI pathway or the HERS pathway, and there is no longer a prescriptive pathway to building a brand new home. As you can see from the bullets in front of you, that all new homes will have to be at a minimum Energy Star certified. We've been using Energy Star on the larger homes for a number of years now, and that's been working pretty well. And so the intention has always been to start that program with the largest homes, get used to it, make sure we understood how it worked, and then push that down to the smaller, which is what we're proposing. As the homes get larger, the stringency of the requirements get more significant, and that's in the code today, and that remains in the code as proposed. So what we're proposing is that all new homes that are over 1,500 square foot in conditioned floor area, in addition to hitting the HERS requirements per the table, they also need to get a zero energy ready rating. We also, if you can see here on this chart, there's sort of two scales. One is the ERI score if you don't have any combustion appliances other than some very limited backup appliances, and that would be a HERS 50. So you could achieve that with just energy efficiency in your building envelope and your mechanical systems. And then we say that if you what we're proposing is that if you have no combustion appliances, you could stop there. If you do have combustion appliances, then the scores need to go lower, and that's typically going to require the addition of energy systems to hit those scores, those lower scores. And then for the largest homes over 3,000 square feet, we're saying that you have to do all the requirements of the previous requirements, the zero energy ready, the HERS score, and then we're also adding some embodied carbon requirements. Those requirements are new to the code. It's going to be a little bit of a lift to get the industry to understand and be able to meet those requirements. And so we've delayed those. So the rest of the code will take effect, and the embodied carbon requirements will have an additional 1 calendar year after that to go into effect, so that we'll have a little bit more time to make sure everybody's up to speed and make sure that when you call up your local concrete mixing batch plant, they're able to deliver what it is that we need to meet these code requirements. Talking a little bit about additions. So we also regulate additions. There was an incorrect graphic in the first edition of this, that the code that went out and was published. I apologize for that. But basically what we're saying again is that as the addition gets larger, the requirements get more stringent. And so the additions do have to meet all the project elements, so all the work, the scope of work will have to meet the prescriptive requirements in the code. Those prescriptive tables are the same as what they have been since they were adopted in 2015. But now we're also adding these, what we're calling the energy efficiency credits. This is a new system of looking at how sort of a menu of options of different ways to achieve energy efficiency, and this puts us a little bit closer to alignment with what's in the code, both the national codes as well as some of the regional codes dealing with these energy efficiency credits. Alternatively, in all these pathways, there is a straight ERI pathway, and that is encouraged. And there's a separate table that will handle additions as well as the larger categories of alterations. So we'll get to that in just a moment. For additions that are more than 500 square feet of new conditioned floor area, or the total completed size is larger than 2,500 square feet, then we also say that the ERI pathway is required. And then finally, for the largest categories, we have an ERI pathway is a requirement that HERS per the table that we'll get to in the next slide. But then there's also an additional requirement that you have to demonstrate a HERS 70 before PV. So the HERS 70 without any renewable energy participating in that score. So that will ensure that whenever anyone is doing an addition to an existing structure, that the full structure has a pretty decent building envelope and good mechanical equipment before they even get to installing the renewable energy systems. Next slide. So I know it's probably a little bit hard to read here, but this is a table listing the additional energy efficiency credits. So basically, this is just a menu of options of different things that you can do in the home to capture those credits. And you do get credit for work that's already occurred. So if you've already done some energy efficiency upgrades, you can qualify for these credits for stuff that's already happened or features that are already in the home. And this is really designed to try to provide as much flexibility and make sure we capture a wide range of potential project scopes. And then in terms of the additions themselves, I think the rest of this slide is already the same text as what was in the previous slide, but I just wanted to show you the energy efficiency credits and sort of that range of options there. Okay, so then this table is showing the HERS target for additions. This is also the same chart that we're going to use for as an alternative pathways for larger alterations. And so as you can see, as the homes get larger, the HERS targets also get more stringent. Again, this is in keeping with the strategy that we've been using for a number of years now. Next slide. Okay, alterations, we are basing that on the total project value. So the project value is the same number we use to determine things like the the permit fees. So it's the total cost of all the labor and material and that goes into a project, total cost of the project. And as the project gets larger, the requirements from an energy perspective get more stringent. If it's a really small project, there is no requirement. So projects less than $50,000, you just have to comply with the prescriptive elements that may be involved with the project, but there's no additional requirements. And as it gets larger, you can see that the number of additional energy efficiency credits goes up, with the largest category requiring, if you spend more than $250,000 on the project, you have to also do an energy model for the home and get a HERS score and meet the HERS targets for the whole project. And that includes both the scope of the project, but also the full existing house in its totality. All right, next slide, please. Okay. A couple of notes. One, again, as I mentioned, that there was an incorrect table in the existing draft that was published. We also had a misnumbering that we caught. That's all the slide is just trying to show is that we caught that there was a slide that was mislabeled, and also just trying to clarify that this table is used for both the additions as well as the largest category of alterations. Okay, one of the things that we also wanted to add and didn't make it into the first draft was that this idea that the total project valuation will include all the permitted work that's occurred in the previous 24 months. So this will prevent somebody from taking a large project and breaking it up into 4 or 5 smaller permits to avoid that total valuation number. This is just saying that we're going to look backwards for 24 months. And that alone, the total permit value will be inclusive of all of those prior permits. Is again just trying to get people to make sure when we're doing a large project, we actually capture the full scope of the project when we do that permit. Next slide. Okay, so the addition embodied carbon requirements. So we had originally proposed that we would be looking at both concrete and steel. As we have dug into the details a little bit in terms of how most of the projects in the county purchase steel, we've realized there's a couple of problems with the diversity of supply chains, making it pretty hard for the kinds of projects that we see most often in Boulder County to comply with this. So we are actually proposing to strike the embodied carbon element of the steel and just focus on the embodied carbon that's contained within concrete. This is because to a large extent, we get all of our concrete within, essentially an hour's drive. No concrete gets imported from further than that. All the batch plants are close, and it's a relatively few number of batch plants. So if we work with those batch plants to help them become tuned into these requirements, we think we can get the whole market to meet these without too much of a unfair burden. This embodied carbon of concrete is not new to just Boulder County. There's quite a few folks who are looking at this. Probably the most notable one is the state. The state architecture office has just moved forward with their low embodied carbon concrete requirements for all state projects. These requirements right in keeping with those, and we believe them to be quite feasible numbers, although it will take a little bit of time to make sure that the batch plants can change over and deliver the materials that we need without too much challenge. Next slide, please. Let's pause here for a second. I'm curious from the members of the public if anyone here has any questions or comments thus far. There should be a way for you to raise your hand, and we'd love to hear your thoughts if you have any. Any members of the public in the room today who have any comments?
Not today. Thank you.
Anyone? Well, okay, well, just going back to this slide in terms of what the next steps are. So we do have a board of review hearing scheduled for Thursday, December 19th. That meeting is a public meeting. It will be in a hybrid format, matching what we're seeing here today. And public testimony will be taken at that meeting. Um, uh, let's see. AJ, I see you came on camera. Did you have some comments or questions you wanted to share? So at the Board of Review meeting on the 19th, we will take public testimony. There will be a full public hearing, so everyone will have a chance to speak. And it's our hope that the Board of Review will be able to share their thoughts about the code as proposed. If all goes well, they'll reach some sort of a consensus about recommendations for the Board of County Commissioners. And then we have scheduled Thursday, January 23rd for a hearing in front of the Board of County Commissioners. Ultimately, they are the decision makers in this code. So what they adopt is what we will enforce, but we're hoping that all goes smoothly. And again, on the 23rd, that's a public hearing where we will take full testimony and comments from the public. And if all that goes well, then we're targeting an effective date of the code at the very end of March of 2025. If you have comments or feedback, want to share anything, there is that email address up on the screen right now, building code update at bouldercounty.gov. That all the emails that are being sent to that will be provided to the members of the Board of Review. Ultimately, that'll also be put into a packet that'll go to the Boulder County Commissioners. So all of that will become part of the public record for this process. And we encourage anyone who has thoughts to share to please go ahead and send us an email, share what you're thinking. It's really important that we do everything we can to understand where what the things work, what things don't work, and make sure we can address those to the best of our ability during this process, so we get a code that works well. Any other comments from staff? Anything I missed? Anybody online have any additional comments or thoughts they want to share?
No, I already sent in an email to the commissioners and the planners in there, so they already have my thoughts. So I think I'm good.
Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate you coming out today to participate in this. Thank you.
Mhm.
Anyone else? Okay, well, I don't have anything else in terms of a prepared presentation to talk about today. I'll just put it out there one more time. If anyone has any other questions, let me know. But there's that email address. I do encourage people to reach out. Other than that, I think that's all that I have for today. Okay. All right. Well, thanks everyone.